The war had been going on for 30 long years. Every species in the Galactic Coalition knew the stories their parents told. Stories about the Devourers, the enemy that ate entire worlds and left nothing behind. The Coalition was losing. Everyone knew it, even if nobody wanted to say it out loud. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the observation deck of the Coalition command station. His dark hair was getting gray at the sides, and his uniform was simple compared to the fancy armor the alien leaders wore. Behind him, Lieutenant Maria Santos checked her medical supplies one more time. She always did that when she was nervous. The station orbited Vexar Prime, a planet that used to be beautiful. Now half of it was covered in the gray, spreading infection that the Devourers left behind. Jake could see the dead zones from space, like scars on the planet's surface. "They will not believe us," Maria said quietly. She was looking at the same view, her brown eyes sad. "We came all this way, and they will think we are liars." Jake nodded. He knew she was right. For thousands of years, humans had been just stories to these aliens. Old legends about a species that cared about everyone, that fought to protect the weak. Most Coalition species thought humans were made up, like fairy tales parents told their children. The door opened with a hiss. Ambassador Kvalix entered first. He looked like a giant mantis, with 4 arms and eyes that could see in directions humans could not imagine. His shell was decorated with medals from many battles. Behind him came General Torvin, a massive reptilian creature who stood almost 8 feet tall. His scales were dark green and scarred from decades of war. "So," Torvin said, his voice like rocks grinding together, "you claim to be human." "We are human," Jake replied. He kept his voice calm and respectful. "We received your distress signals. We came to help." Kvalix's mandibles clicked together in what might have been laughter. "Humans are legends, stories we tell children about heroes who never existed. You are either confused about what you are, or you're trying to trick us." Maria stepped forward. "Why would we trick you? What would we gain?" "Territory," Torvin growled. "Resources. A weak coalition is easy prey for a new predator." Jake had expected this. He pulled out a small device from his pocket and activated it. A hologram appeared in the air between them, showing star maps and genetic data. "These are our records, our DNA, our history going back 10,000 years. We are human. We did not vanish. We just stayed in our corner of space, growing and learning." Kvalix moved closer to the hologram, studying it with his complex eyes. "If you are truly human, why come now? Why not before, when the war started?" "We did not know about the war until recently," Jake explained. "We finally developed the technology to hear your signals. When we understood what was happening, we could not stay away." Torvin made a sound like an angry snake. "How convenient. The legendary saviors appear exactly when we are desperate enough to accept any help. I do not trust this." Maria's voice was soft but firm. "Then do not trust us. Just let us prove ourselves. We brought medical supplies, food, and ships ready to fight. Use them or send us away. But people are dying out there while we argue." The room fell silent. Jake could hear the hum of the station's engines, the distant sound of damaged ships being repaired in the docking bays. Through the window, he watched a coalition medical transport struggling to land, its engines sparking and failing. Kvalix and Torvin looked at each other. Something passed between them, some kind of understanding that did not need words. "The legends say humans valued all life equally," Kvalix said slowly. "That you would fight for strangers as hard as you would fight for your own families. Is this true?" "Yes," Jake said simply. "Prove it," Torvin demanded. "We have a medical facility 3 levels down. It is filled with our wounded, hundreds of them. Our doctors are overwhelmed. Our supplies are running low. If you are what you claim to be, help them." Maria did not wait for Jake to answer. "Take me there now." Kvalix led them through the corridors of the station. The walls were marked with blast damage and quick repairs. Soldiers from a dozen different species moved past them, all looking exhausted and hopeless. Some stared at the humans with confusion. Others did not even notice them, too tired to care. The medical facility was chaos. The smell hit Jake first, a mixture of different alien chemistries and infection and death. Hundreds of wounded soldiers lay on beds, on the floor, anywhere there was space. Doctors and nurses rushed between them, but there were too many patients and not enough hands. A small Threxian child lay on a bed near the entrance. She looked like a smaller version of Cavalix, her shell cracked and leaking fluid. A tired doctor worked on her, but Jake could see the doctor was losing hope. Maria was already moving. She pulled on gloves and went straight to the child. "I need a medical kit. Now." A nurse brought one, looking confused. Maria worked quickly, her hands steady. She used human techniques but adjusted them for the Threxian biology. Jake had seen her study alien anatomy for months during their journey, preparing for exactly this. The room grew quiet as other doctors stopped to watch. Maria worked for 20 minutes without pause. Finally, the child's breathing steadied. The leaking stopped. Color returned to her shell. The Threxian doctor stared at Maria. "How did you do that? We tried everything." "Different perspective," Maria said gently. "May I help with the others?" By the end of the first hour, Maria had saved 3 more lives. By the end of the second hour, now word had spread through the station. More human medical teams arrived. They worked alongside coalition doctors, sharing techniques and learning from each other. Jake stood with Cavalix and Torvin, watching through the observation window. "Perhaps," Cavalix said quietly. "The legends were true after all." 3 days had passed since the humans arrived. The medical facility looked different now. It was still crowded, but there was order instead of chaos. There was hope instead of despair. Dr. Lisa Chen worked at a table in the corner, teaching a group of coalition doctors a new technique for treating radiation burns. She was patient and clear, showing them each step multiple times. The alien doctors listened carefully, asking questions and taking notes. Maria Santos had barely slept. She moved from patient to patient, always calm, and always kind. A large Sauroch soldier with a missing arm watched her approach his bed. His eyes showed fear. "I will not hurt you," Maria said softly. She had learned a few words in his language. "I am here to help." The soldier relaxed a little. Maria checked his wound and applied medicine that would help it heal faster. "You will be okay," she told him. "You will fight again if you choose to, or you can go home to your family. Either way, you will be okay." The soldier's eyes filled with tears. "Why do you care? I am nothing to you." Maria smiled. "You are not nothing. You are someone who needs help. That is enough." Across the station, in the pilot briefing room, Danny Reed sat with a group of young coalition pilots. He was only 23 himself, but he had trained his whole life to fly. On the alien pilots looked even younger and much more scared. "The Devourer swarm ships are fast," a nervous Threxian pilot said. His name was Zix, and his hands shook when he talked. "They come from all directions. We cannot fight them all." Danny leaned forward. "You are right. You cannot fight them all alone. But you are not alone anymore." He pulled up a hologram showing battle formations. "See, the problem is everyone flies solo trying to be a hero. But the swarm does not work that way. They work together, like one big creature. So we have to work together too." Another pilot, a small furry creature named Pix, spoke up. "But if we stay in formation, we are slower. We cannot dodge as well." "True," Danny agreed. "But you protect each other. When one of you is in trouble, the others cover them. Nobody gets left behind. No, that is how humans fight." Zix looked doubtful. "And this works?" "It kept us alive," Danny said simply. "It can keep you alive too." In the command center, Captain Nicole Harper stood with General Torvin and Ambassador Cavalix. They were reviewing data on human ships and weapons. Torvin seemed impressed despite himself. "Your technology is not more advanced than ours," he observed. "In some ways, it is less advanced." Nicole nodded. "That is correct. We cannot outgun the Devourers. We cannot outrun them. So we had to be smarter." She showed them tactical recordings from human training exercises. "We focus on coordination. Every ship knows where every other ship is. We share targeting data instantly. We protect our weakest members instead of leaving them behind. Kavalix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Ari, this requires enormous trust. Yes, Nicole said, but trust is free. It costs nothing to give and everything to break. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed. A communication officer, a blue-skinned Aquarian, called out in panic. Devourer breakthrough at Sector 7. The front lines are collapsing. Coalition forces are requesting immediate reinforcement. Torvin pulled up the tactical display. Jake Morrison entered the command center, having heard the alarms. They all looked at the screen together. The situation was bad. Dozens of coalition ships were surrounded. The Devourer forces were pushing through like water through a broken dam. How many ships can you send? Jake asked. Torvin's expression was grim. We have nothing left. Every ship we have is already committed. Or if we pull forces from other sectors, the Devourers will break through there too. Then we will go, Jake said. The room went silent. Kavalix turned to face him fully. You have 15 ships. The Devourers have hundreds in that sector. This would be suicide. Maybe, Jake admitted. But those coalition soldiers at Sector 7 will definitely die if nobody helps them. We did not come all this way to watch people die when we can do something about it. Nicole was already moving toward the door. I will prep the fleet. We can launch in 20 minutes. Wait, Torvin said. His voice was different now, less angry and more confused. Why would you do this? You barely know us. We did not even believe you were real 3 days ago. Why would you risk everything for us? Jake met his eyes. Because it is the right thing to do. Because those are people out there, and people matter. All people. That is what it means to be human. Maria appeared in the doorway. I am coming too. They will need medical support. So am I, Lisa Chen said, right behind her. Danny Reed ran up, still wearing his flight suit. My squadron is ready. The coalition pilots we have been training want to come too. They say they want to try the human way. Kavalix looked at all of them, these strange creatures who were supposed to be legends. I do not understand you, he said quietly. The stories said humans were compassionate and brave, but I thought those were just nice words. I did not think anyone actually lived that way. Watch us, Jake said. Then you will understand. 23 minutes later, the human fleet launched from the station. About 15 human ships and 8 coalition ships flown by young pilots who wanted to try something new. It was a tiny force compared to what waited for them at Sector 7. On the observation deck, Torvin and Kavalix watched them go. The ships moved in perfect formation, already working as one unit. If they survive this, Kavalix said, I will believe every legend I ever heard about humans. If they survive this, Torvin replied, I will start believing in miracles. The journey to Sector 7 took 4 hours. Jake Morrison spent that time reviewing tactical data and trying not to think about the odds. Behind him, Lieutenant Kevin Brooks worked at the tactical station, his fingers moving quickly across the controls. The Devourer force is bigger than we thought, Kevin said quietly. I am counting at least 300 swarm ships. Our sensors show 70 coalition ships still fighting, but they are scattered and disorganized. Jake studied the display. The coalition forces were like islands in a dark sea, each group fighting alone and slowly being surrounded. What about civilian ships? Kevin checked his sensors. I see one transport. It is trapped behind the Devourer lines about 50 kilometers past the main battle. Looks like it is carrying refugees. Can we reach it? Not without going through the entire Devourer fleet. Kevin paused. Commander, we should focus on the main battle. We cannot save everyone. Jake was quiet for a moment. Yes, we can. We just need to be smart about it. In the fighter bay, Danny Reed helped the young coalition pilots do final checks on their ships. Zix was trying to hide how scared he was. Napix kept checking her weapons over and over. Remember what we practiced, Danny told them. Stay in formation, watch each other's backs. Do not try to be heroes. Being alive is better than being heroic. What if we fail? Zix asked, his voice shaking. Danny put a hand on the Threxian's shoulder. Then we fail together. But we are not going to fail. The medical bay was ready. Maria Santos and Lisa Chen had organized supplies and prepared beds for wounded. They both knew what was coming. Space battles meant injuries, and injuries meant they would be very busy very soon. I hope we have enough blood substitutes for all the different species, Lisa said, checking inventory one more time. Maria nodded. We will make it work. We always do. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Sector 7. The battle spread out before them like a nightmare. Devourer ships looked like twisted metal insects, all sharp edges and wrong angles. They moved in swarms, coordinating perfectly, overwhelming isolated coalition ships with sheer numbers. All ships, this is Morrison, Jake spoke into the communication system. Execute pattern Delta. Human ships take point. Coalition ships, follow our lead and watch for my signal. The human fleet moved forward in a tight formation. They did not spread out. They did not try to engage everything at once. They moved like a spear, driving toward the nearest group of trapped coalition ships. On the coalition command station, General Torvin watched the tactical display with disbelief. What are they doing? They are ignoring proper combat spacing. The Devourers will surround them. Ambassador Kvalix leaned closer to the screen. Wait, look at how they move. Every ship covers the one next to it. They are not individual targets. They are one target. The Devourer swarm noticed the human fleet and changed direction. Hundreds of enemy ships began to converge on the small human formation. Here they come, Kevin called out. Devourer ships incoming from multiple vectors. Hold formation, Jake ordered. Wait for it. The Devourers opened fire. Energy weapons lit up space, but the human ships moved as one, their shields overlapping. When one ship's shield weakened, another moved to cover it. Shots that should have destroyed individual ships were absorbed by the formation. Now, Jake said. All ships, return fire, targeting pattern Beta. The human ships fired together, focusing their weapons on single Devourer ships one at a time. Each target was destroyed quickly before they moved to the next one. It was efficient and brutal. Danny Reed and his mixed squadron launched from the carriers. All wings, stay tight. Zix, Pix, stay on my wing. Do not chase targets. Let them come to us. Devourer fighters swarmed toward them. There were so many that they blocked out the stars. Zix made a scared sound, but he stayed in formation. Steady, Danny said calmly. Wait for them to commit. The Devourers attacked from all sides at once. In the old way, each pilot would have broken formation to dogfight individually. Instead, Danny's squadron turned together, their fire overlapping. Devourer fighters flew into a wall of coordinated attacks. It is working, Pix shouted over the communication line. They cannot break through. The human fleet reached the first group of coalition ships. A damaged Sarok cruiser was barely holding together, surrounded by Devourer ships. This is the human fleet, Jake broadcast on coalition frequencies. Form up with us. We are getting you out of here. The Sarok captain sounded confused. You want us to join your formation, but we are too damaged. We will slow you down. That is okay, Jake replied. We do not leave people behind, ever. The coalition ships joined the human formation. Damaged ships moved to the center where they were protected. Stronger ships took positions on the outside. The formation grew larger but stayed coordinated. Kevin was managing tactical data, making sure every ship knew where every other ship was. Commander, I have a path to that transport. But we will have to go deep into Devourer territory. They will surround us completely. Jake looked at the display. The transport was sending out distress calls. Sensors showed life signs aboard, families, children. All ships. This is Morrison. We have civilians trapped behind enemy lines. We are going in. General Torvin, watching from the command station, stood up from his chair. They are insane. They will never make it out. But the human formation drove deeper into the Devourer fleet. They fought their way forward, moving steadily toward the transport. Devourer ships swarmed around them from all sides. The humans should have been overwhelmed. Instead, they kept fighting. Every ship protected every other ship. When coalition ships took damage, human ships covered them. When human ships needed to reload, coalition ships moved forward. Once they reached the transport. It was a large civilian ship, its engines damaged and shields failing. Transport, this is Commander Morrison. Get your engines online. We are taking you home. The transport ship lurched forward on failing engines, protected in the center of the human formation. Inside, 300 refugee families huddled together, afraid but hopeful. They could see the human ships through the windows, taking hit after hit to keep them safe. The journey back through the Devourer fleet was harder than the journey in. Enemy ships came from every direction, relentless and angry. But the human formation held. Damaged ships rotated to the center. Fresh ships moved to the front. They fought their way back toward coalition lines meter by meter. When they finally broke through, every ship was damaged. Two human ships had lost main power and were being towed by others. But everyone made it. Every single ship and every person aboard survived. The fleet returned to the command station 12 hours after they left. The docking bays were full of people waiting for them. Coalition soldiers who had been saved lined the corridors. Medical teams rushed forward to help the wounded. Jake Morrison walked off his ship and found General Torvin waiting for him. The massive reptilian looked different somehow. Less angry, more thoughtful. "I watched everything," Torvin said quietly. "I watched you go into certain death to save strangers. I watched you protect ships that slowed you down instead of leaving them behind. I do not understand it." "What is there to understand?" Jake asked, genuinely confused. "They needed help. We helped them." Ambassador Kavalix approached, his forearms gesturing with emotion. "Commander Morrison, I must speak with you and your people. There are things we need to discuss." An hour later, Jake and Maria sat in a conference room with Kavalix and an elderly Threxian named Prelax. The old scholar's shell was decorated with symbols of knowledge, and his eyes showed wisdom earned over many decades. "I am the keeper of old stories," Prelax began, his voice soft with age. "I have spent my life studying the legends and histories of our coalition. The human legends are the oldest and most detailed. For generations, I wondered why." He activated a holographic display. Ancient texts appeared in the air, written in languages that looked nothing like modern coalition script. These are the original stories, yet they were passed down through hundreds of generations. They speak of humans as warriors who valued all life equally. They say humans fought not for conquest or glory, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. Maria leaned forward. "We thought we were unknown to you. We thought we stayed hidden in our space." Prelax made a gesture that might have been a smile. 10,000 years ago, humans visited our ancestors. They helped us when we faced extinction from a plague. They asked for nothing in return. Then they left, saying they would return if we ever needed them again. But over time, Kavalix added, the stories became legends. The legends became myths. Most of us stopped believing humans ever existed. We thought our ancestors invented you to give us hope during dark times." Jake was quiet, processing this information. So our ancestors did know about you. They knew about all of you." "Yes," Prelax confirmed. "And according to the legends, they promised to watch over us from afar. To come if we were ever in desperate need." The old scholar's voice grew emotional. "I have spent my whole life believing in these stories when everyone else said I was foolish. And now you are here. Exactly as the legends said you would be. Exactly when we need you most." Torvin entered the room, having been listening from the doorway. "I need to know something. Why do you fight this way? Why do you protect the weak instead of abandoning them? In war, the weak are weight that drags everyone down. That is simply how war works." Maria stood up and walked to the window. Below, they could see the medical facility where humans and coalition doctors worked together. "Commander, may I answer this?" Jake nodded. "General Torvin, our species almost destroyed itself once," Maria began. "About 3,000 years ago, we had a war, human against human. It lasted 50 years and killed billions. We used weapons that poisoned our own planet. We did terrible things to each other." She turned to face them. "When it finally ended, we looked at what we had become and we were ashamed. We had forgotten that we were all human. We had forgotten that every life mattered. So we made a choice. We decided that we would never forget again. We built our entire society around one simple idea, Jake continued. Every person has value. Every life is worth protecting. Not because of what they can do for us. Not because of how strong they are or what they own. Just because they are alive and they matter. Prelax was nodding slowly. Yes, the legends spoke of this. They called it the human awakening, the moment when your species chose compassion over cruelty. It was not easy, Maria said. It took generations to change. We had to learn to see enemies as future friends. We had to learn that protecting the weak makes everyone stronger, not weaker. But once we learned it, we could not go back. We could not ignore suffering. We could not look away when people needed help. Kavalix's mandibles clicked softly. And that is why you came. Not for territory or resources. Not for glory or power. You came because we were suffering and you could not ignore it. Yes, Jake said simply. The room fell silent. Outside, stars glittered in the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, the Devourer fleet was regrouping, preparing for their next attack. An alarm sounded. A communication officer burst into the room, his blue skin pale with fear. Sirs, our long-range sensors have detected a massive Devourer fleet. They are heading directly toward our homeworlds. This is not a raid or a battle. This is an invasion fleet. If they reach our planets, billions will die. Torvin pulled up the tactical data. His expression showed despair. We cannot stop them. Even with all our forces combined, we do not have enough ships. Jake studied the display carefully. Kevin Brooks appeared in the doorway, having run from the tactical center. Commander, I have an idea. It is crazy, but it might work. Kevin Brooks spread his hands over the tactical display, bringing up new information. The Devourer invasion fleet is massive, but look at how they are organized. They are protecting something in the center, and I think it is their command ships. Jake leaned closer. You want us to go after the command structure. If we take out their coordination, the swarm loses its biggest advantage, Kevin explained. They fight as one mind. Break that mind, and they become confused, vulnerable. Torvin shook his head. To reach their command ships, you would have to penetrate through thousands of Devourer vessels. Even with your tactics, the losses would be total. Not if everyone fights together, Jake said slowly. Not if the entire coalition uses our methods. If every ship protects every other ship, if we all move as one. Kavalix looked uncertain. Our forces have never fought that way. It would require perfect trust between species that have competed with each other for generations. How can we build that trust in just a few days? Maria spoke up. Yes, you already have. Look at what happened in the medical facility. Doctors from different species worked together to save lives. They trusted each other because they had the same goal. And our pilots, Danny Reed added, entering the room with Zix and Pix behind him. Coalition pilots flew with us. They trusted us to watch their backs, and we trusted them to watch ours. It worked. Zix stepped forward nervously. General Torvin, I have fought in 12 battles before the humans came. I lost friends in every one. But in the battle at Sector 7, nobody in my squadron died. Nobody. Because we protected each other like the humans taught us. Pix nodded enthusiastically. I want to fight that way again. I want everyone to fight that way. Torvin was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he looked at Jake. If we do this, you must lead. Our forces must follow human command. That is the only way this will work. No, Jake said firmly. Everyone looked at him in surprise. This cannot be humans leading and everyone else following. This has to be all of us together, equal partners. He pointed at Torvin. You know your ships and your people better than I ever could. You should lead the main fleet. He turned to Kavalix. You understand diplomacy and coordination between species. You should manage coalition communications. What will you do? Kavalix asked. I will lead the strike team that goes after their command ships, Jake replied. The most dangerous job. The one most likely to fail. That is what humans should do. We take the biggest risks. Kevin pulled up a battle plan. Why, if we position coalition forces in a defensive sphere around the homeworlds and then punch through with a strike force here, we can reach the command ships. But the strike force will be cut off, surrounded completely. Then we better work fast, Danny said with a slight smile. Over the next 48 hours, the entire coalition mobilized. Human trainers spread throughout the fleet, teaching their methods to thousands of pilots and captains. Maria and Lisa Chen trained medical teams from every species. Everyone learned the same lesson: protect each other, trust each other, fight as one. On the day of battle, 5,000 coalition ships took position around their homeworlds. It was every vessel they had left. On the planets below, billions of people watched their skies and prayed. The Devourer invasion fleet arrived like a dark storm. 10,000 ships, maybe more. They moved with terrible purpose toward the coalition worlds. All ships, this is General Torvin, the old warrior's voice echoed across every communication channel. Today, we do not fight as separate species. Today, we are one people, one family. The humans taught us this truth. We are stronger together than we could ever be apart. The coalition fleet moved into formation. Ships from a dozen different species arranged themselves in overlapping patterns, each one protecting the others. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Strike team, launch, Jake ordered. 50 ships broke away from the main formation. Human vessels mixed with coalition volunteers. Danny Reed led a squadron of 100 fighters, half human and half coalition. They drove like a spear into the heart of the Devourer fleet. The battle that followed was the largest in coalition history. The main fleet held the defensive sphere, fighting with coordination they had never shown before. When Sorok ships took damage, Threxian ships covered them. When Aquarian vessels needed to recharge, others moved forward. No one fought alone. The strike team pushed deeper into enemy territory. Thousands of Devourer ships tried to stop them. The fighting was brutal and desperate. "We are taking heavy damage," Kevin reported, "but we are almost there." Danny's squadron cleared a path through enemy fighters. Zix flew on his right wing, Pix on his left. They moved as one, their weapons firing in perfect coordination. The Devourer command ships came into view. They were massive vessels, pulsing with strange energy. Everything about them felt wrong, like they should not exist in normal space. "All ships, target the command vessels," Jake ordered. "Fire everything." Every weapon on every ship in the strike team fired at once. Torpedoes, energy beams, missiles, everything humanity and the coalition had created. The focused fire overwhelmed the command ship's defenses. One command ship exploded, then another, then a third. Across the battlefield, the Devourer fleet suddenly became confused. Ships that had moved with perfect coordination began to drift. Some fired on each other. The swarm mind was breaking. "Now," Torvin's voice came over the communication system. "All coalition forces advance. Push them back." The coalition fleet surged forward. Fighting together, protecting each other, they drove the Devourers away from their worlds. The enemy fleet, leaderless and confused, began to retreat. When it was over, the strike team had lost 20 ships. The main fleet had lost hundreds. But the homeworlds were safe. Billions of lives were saved. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his damaged ship and watched the coalition fleet regroup. They moved differently now, not as separate species, but as one united force.